What's up, y'all? You are watching the Lorraine Lindsay podcast, another episode of The Mindsetters. And I'm so excited because we are closing up on our two-part series of how we're connecting the physical to the mind. And I have my guest once again with us on the show. This is part two. We first talked about fitness is beyond the physical. And now we're going to talk about the body and how you can get clues as to what's going on to you emotionally as we pay more attention to our body. So once again, we have my special guest, Miss Megan Buckley.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. And then, of course, my co-host, my lovely Miss Charlene Ruiz.
Hey.
And so last episode, we talked about the fitness is beyond. And we kind of like, once we started that, it opened up a whole lot of conversation about different things. And I think a lot of people find a lot of value in that. But we were really focused on emphasizing the mindset. Mm-hmm. And for some people, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of chatter, there's a lot of things going on in their lives. And so it makes it very difficult to really tap into that emotional mindset. And so today we're going to focus mostly on what's happening to our bodies, because our bodies are giving us clues. Mm-hmm. And yes. I want us to kind of share those kind of stories because sometimes, people will think like, I'm just sick because I'm sick. And that may be the case. And obviously you always want to go and talk to your physicians and things like that. But your body will give you clues. Stress that causes inflammation. If you have buildup of yeast in your body, and all of that also can cloud your mind and cause you to be unclear about decisions you need to make. So I want to start with this little story that I experienced. And I was getting a facial from this wonderful woman. And we'd been, it got to the point where my facials were more conversations, And she was telling me that she didn't understand why she was having so many ailments at this particular time. She's like, I do really, really well throughout the year, but it's always, I don't know if it's the season or whatever, but it's just like her body starts to break down. She gets irritable bowel syndrome. She gets really bad achy joints and so on and so forth. I mean, it was just like, and it was debilitating for her. And so she was just sharing. So a couple different sessions later, she starts to tell me a story about some tragic things that had happened to her in her life. And it was like a snowball effect. It was a bunch of things that happened simultaneously around the same time frame. And so I said to her, that's interesting. That's also exactly the same time frame that you're experiencing these ailments inside your body. Mm-hmm. And she said, oh my goodness, I've never connected the dots to that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I said, maybe you should look into that. Because if you've never dealt with the trauma that you face emotionally, it may be showing up in your body, And so literally like maybe a month or two later, she called me, she's crying and she's like, Lorraine, it's like you gave me the antidote. I went and started seeing a coach. She started getting therapy for the PTSD that she actually had that she didn't even know was a thing. And she was like, as soon as I started doing the work emotionally, it was hard because it all had to come up. She's like, it was like I was healed. So obviously there are situations where you're truly just ill, you have illnesses and things like that. But I want us to really focus on, if we don't understand what's happening to us in our mind, how do we identify with getting clues with our physical being?
Yeah. So with my body of work, there is a component to it where it's meta health and meta medicine. And that's specifically what it is it's not to diagnose, treat, any of that. It's really just bringing awareness of a possibility of a component to it. And so it's okay. So this is happening. And I've experienced this as well. I was actually going through a training, and over the course of one of the days, I started having pain on one side, just in my shoulder and my neck. And then by the end of the day, it was like my body had been cut in half and I had full pain from head to toe on my right side. And so then going back to my own body of work, I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit down, relax, and really go inside and say, okay, what emotion am I feeling? What am I not paying attention to? And so then I go through my process. I just write everything down. Okay, at what number am I at of level of pain? Okay, I'm here. All right, write down, okay, what am I feeling? And going through all these emotions, because the idea is you want to get to 0. I was able to get down to 1. And in going through the whole process, what came up for me was exhaustion. And so then it's having that awareness of, oh, So that's what exhaustion feels like. Okay, thank you. But then I was pain free. And so I say that to say, again, there's no like miracles that happen, but again, sometimes it's just the awareness and paying attention to, okay, what is my body trying to tell me?
Right.
And then so it can release it, and then you can kind of go from there.
Yeah. There's a great book called Your Body Keeps Score. I don't know if you've ever read that or not.
Mm-mm.
It talks a lot about this, and it's great. Everybody should maybe pick up a copy. I don't know who the author is. I can't remember, but it's a good book, and it really identifies exactly that, exactly what you're saying there too. And, I'm sure you've heard emotions are energy in motion, right? So when we don't release it, we're depressing it, we're oppressing, we're keeping it inside. So not only can we become depressed, like our personality, our emotions, or the way we feel, but our body does too. It just holds. Yes, compressed. Exactly. You start to feel that heaviness inside of you. You may not feel it like in the way you feel as a person, like in life, but your body will say, hey, there's something not right here. Quit stuffing that down. Let's get it out. If you don't get it out, I'm going to get it out for you. And you're not going to like that. So that's how I feel our body will talk to us when we're not paying attention to what our body needs and or our spiritual, emotional needs are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also this idea of when there's dis-ease in the body, there's also dis-ease in the mind, and you put that together and that's disease. So, and, even going back to just the physicalness of it, we say the gut is the second brain for a reason.
Right.
And so there's a lot of people that do manifest things as a digestive issue. And so there's all sorts of things going digestively. So it's
me.
So then my question is, okay, so where in your life, or where specifically, are you not digesting something? Is there an idea? Is there an event? Is there a process where you're not fully digesting it and allowing it to be and allowing yourself to flow through it? So again, it always goes back to what is not happening. What are you not paying attention
That's
to?
what I know I need to check myself when I start having stomach issues. I'm like, okay, something's up. Let me pay attention. It's not the food, but or maybe it is, but no, it's not. Yeah, but that's how I see it too. Yeah.
No, but it's interesting, especially when you are a go, go, go type of person where your life is very busy and you're doing many different things, whether you are a stay-at-home mother and you're just busy with your children, or you're a businesswoman running a business, what have you. And especially especially now with women at the forefront having to kind of take on that masculine energy and be strong and not tapping into into our emotional side, it can literally take a physical toll. For me, I'm not good at releasing emotion, right? So I don't like the vulnerability of being emotional. So you won't see me cry or get hysterical or anything, but unless I'm angry. Angry is like, I'm very comfortable being angry at times. But what ends up happening is there are times when I get migraines quite often. And there'll be a phase where I'm not having any migraines whatsoever. And then all of a sudden they'll just come with such intensity. And so as we're speaking about this, the first thing I do is I ask myself, what are you not releasing? What are you holding into? What have you not gone and talked about? What are you not letting out? Because the pressure then becomes, the energy of that pressure gets focused around my mind. And again, everybody's body experiences energy in different spaces. So for me, because I'm in my head a lot, I feel like that's where I get. And when I release it and I deal with it, whatever's emotionally contributing, if the headache continues, or if it's not alleviating, then it's like, okay, it might be something actual medical. But it's crazy how most of the time when I release the energy and I let go and I'm honest with myself that I'm holding on to the stress in this part of my body, how all of a sudden the headaches start to dissipate. Because it's tension, right? It's just like you're carrying it. Even sometimes at night when I sleep, and I'm really stressed or really overwhelmed, I notice that my body doesn't relax. I'm like rigid even in my sleep. And then I'll wake up the next day and I'm like, I don't know why I have so much pain in my shoulder, or why my gait is off, or my hips are not aligned, or things like that. So
Or you clench your teeth, or
right.
you know,
that's a big one.
one remedy I found that works for me, and I'm sure you ladies could relate to that is I move. When I feel a certain kind of way, I get up and I just start walking. And I just let my body walk and walk and walk and walk. Sometimes I walk for hours because I just love to walk and be in nature anyways, but it helps me move whatever's going on. It also gives me time to get in my head and start thinking and then connect with nature. And that's kind of my thing, how I feel better, how I make myself or find a way to feel better and get clear on what that is. But I also do believe too that when we're going through stuff emotionally, it's best to do something physically.
100%.
Doesn't mean it's strenuous or difficult. Just moving your body really helps move whatever's going on inside of you. And hopefully it'll come into your mind as to what that is. And you can dig a little bit deeper in other ways. But I truly believe that movement matters, especially when we're feeling some kind of way.
I like that. And I even go, because I'm a big believer in that too, coming from fitness and then shifting into mindset. And I know this for myself and I share it with clients and other people is when I'm trying to work through something, a lot of times I do need to move physically to be able to work through it, just like you were saying, to kind of get inside. And sometimes too, and I remember experiencing this a lot with clients, is breath.
To breathe.
Where I would have so many clients that as I'm, we're going through different things, they would stop breathing when I was in Pilates. And then it then would happen also with, like my mindset coaching too, of I'm like, okay, you've been holding your breath for like a minute. Can you, we're going to now do some box breathing and get you, because it's getting through that flow. And a lot of times that can help release tension. And then, speaking into like the emotion, it's good to be able to go through the emotion. And I like to say emotion's like a doorway. You don't want to stay in the doorway, but you need to go through it.
Right.
Because in going through it, it's going to get you where you're wanting to go.
Or get you somewhere that'll eventually lead you where you need to just move, right?
Yeah, just move.
Yeah.
There's Tony Robbins talks about this a lot in his teachings. And in my certifications and training, he's one of my mentors. He's someone who I've trained with for my certifications. And I love this, is that the mind and the body connection to emotion, right? And so the universal language in emotion is in our body, right? So, for example, it doesn't matter what part of the world I'm from or what language I speak. If I'm depressed and I'm sad and I'm sitting with a room full of people who are all feeling the same thing, although we can't communicate through language what we're feeling, we can see it in our bodies.
Energy.
And so it's just, so the shoulders are slumped, the head is down, the voice changes, and it all ties into what we're telling ourselves mentally, right? And then our body has to physiologically get into that to posture for it in order for it to become tangible and real for us to feel the emotion. And it really is a shift. If I suddenly pull my shoulders back, put my head up and change the tone of my voice, it's very hard for me to feel in a depressed state of mind. And so also allowing our bodies, sometimes when you're in a funk, so we've got the ailment part, like, physical ailment, but sometimes we're not sure why we're in a funk or we're feeling down or what have you. Sometimes if you don't really have a click to the answer, or you do, and it's a lot of different things, it's a matter of shifting your body.
Yes.
And in the part one, we talked about, I'd mentioned the habits, right? And there was a time, for example, for me when I was going through a really bad breakup in my life. And I had just moved into my house, and the house was sitting with all these boxes because my whole life is shifting, right? And I sat on the same spot on the couch and moped and cried and whined all by myself while this house sat with boxes. And then one day I said, you know what? That's my spot for depression. When I sit there, I get to curl my body up, I get to posture myself, and I get then the information starts going. It starts flowing. You're depressed. You're depressed. This is what happened. Woe is you. You become the victim. So on this particular day, I said to myself, as you said, Charlene, I said, move your body. Take those freaking, cry all you want, but take those freaking boxes upstairs where they belong and start unpacking them while you cry. Right? So
Unpack
here
the
I am.
boxes and unpack
I
yourself.
grabbed the box number one. And I can't believe he's this, that, blah, blah. And I'm going up the stairs. And I get back down and I'm like, oh, okay, let me get that box over here.
And you start looking at memories and stuff and
well,
other
no,
things.
but what was happening is I was moving my body.
Yeah.
And I was the thought process of what I felt happened to me,
Was unpacking.
it was tied into me sitting on that spot in the couch. But now that I was physically moving my body, it was like I couldn't get back into my emotional mood. It just, the movement switched my mindset because I couldn't physically carry these boxes and move them to the room where they were supposed to belong and continue the story in my mind. So
Right.
it's all, it all works together.
Shift, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a quote. I'm not sure who says this, but it's no matter how you feel, you get up, you get dressed, and you give it all you got. No matter how you feel, you get up, you get dressed, and you give it all you got. You tell yourself that over. It's the truth, because you could sit there and become, that's life, or you can get up and take charge and take action. It doesn't always happen the first time, right? We have to build ourselves up to that sometimes, or if we're lucky enough to have people in our life to remind us, or to kind of give us a little shift. But I also believe there's a time for feeling depressed too. I think that we need to honor certain feelings, just don't get stuck there. And I know for myself, for a long time, I was afraid to feel that because I was afraid to be stuck there. So I had to learn that that's a story I'm telling myself. I'm okay to feel.
And what's
not good.
interesting too, not to interrupt you, but when you're afraid to feel a thing and you think that that's avoiding you from feeling it, you're carrying it anyway. And you might be suppressing it, but that is going to show up in other parts of your life and in your body.
Oh, yes, big time.
Exactly.
And
And sometimes you don't even know what it is, but then you start to, kind of go down and like, I never dealt with, oh my gosh. Wow. Yes, I need to deal with that. I've been putting it aside and, optimistic, happy, and that doesn't matter. I'm going to take charge, but really it's something that needs to be addressed, whether it be with myself, looking at my eyes, or with a therapist, or with my girlfriends, or even journaling. I journal a lot. Every day I'm writing something, and I found that to be so therapeutic for me and healing, and it helps me reflect back as I've moved forward as to where I've come from. And it helps me also help others through that. So that's a tool that I use.
Nice. Well, and I like to, when we're talking with clients, and, sometimes, especially when we're, starting with like the physical, they're like, oh, well, I want to lose 10 pounds. Okay. Well, why? Well, because, I don't know. I don't like how my clothes are fitting. I don't like the way I look. Oh, okay. Well, why is that? Well, I mean, they're really tight and I'm feeling uncomfortable. Oh, okay. So what is it about feeling uncomfortable? Like, why is that a problem? Well, because then I don't, so then it starts going into other things. And then,
Right.
then we, break it all down. It's like, well, I'm not feeling confident in myself like I used to. Oh, so it started at, oh, I wanted to lose 10 pounds. And now we're working on confidence. So again, there's always so much more beneath that. And also that goes into hiring a real good coach that's going to take you along that journey. Because if we allow you to stay surface, you're going to get surface results.
Right.
If you want to actually go there, you're ready to go there. Like, you get a coach that's going to take you there and is going to support you through that. And going back to what we said in the last one, it's trusting the process.
Absolutely. Trusting the process and trusting yourself through that process.
But that's
too.
hard.
It is.
It's
Oh,
difficult. And it's so, we hear it all say, it's almost cliche now to say, trust the process, trust the journey. And so I guess, how does one go about trusting when everything they have trust has failed them? And what I mean by that is, like, for example, when we're talking about the connecting the mindset or what have you, sometimes we gear ourselves up for something without checking into the why and being clear as to what the why is. And then we gear ourselves up thinking we know what the why is. And then if that thing that we get, whether it's getting in shape or whatever the goal may be, and then you have a setback, it makes you fall so much harder, especially when you're not checked into and being clear as to what your why is to begin
When
with.
you're dishonest with yourself, that's
Yes.
exactly what happens. I think, as to your point, when you ask what's the why 10 pounds and you keep digging deeper, if that person was clear and or honest what that truly is, I think that helps you stay in alignment and really get to that trusting part, or that shift of habits, or whatever that may be. I mean, sometimes we don't even know what our truth is. So we need a coach or somebody to tell us, hey, to your point earlier, when we're inside the picture, we can't see outside the frame, because we're in it, right? Or the other way around. But the point is that we can't see everything in our life, right? We just can't. That's not possible. So it's important to surround ourselves with people and or circumstances or literature or whatever that works for you to help you identify who you are and or who you want to be, or what you may be going through, because we don't know what we don't know until we don't know that we don't know it, right? That's kind of how that
you know
works.
what you know, you know what you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know. That's
Exactly.
landmark
Yes.
form. I took a course in that,
Yes.
and that was one of the most biggest takeaways for me is you know what you know, You know what you don't know, but you don't know what you don't know. And those are your blind spots.
Yes.
And so as we talk about these things, we're talking from a stance of awareness. And for people that are listening, there's how do we get them there? You know, because that's the whole thing about the show is how do we get people to understand the importance of their own mindset? You don't have to be a guru and, you know, walk around and, you know, be in a meditative state all the time. But again, what we talked about in the first show is that if you're identifying what there's a problem for you, and you're getting clear on what that problem is, and just figuring out how did I get here, and what are the tools that I'm going to need, or who do I need to find the resources, because and be a resource to my own life as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I would say, just to speak on that very last part specifically, is that's the difference between having going to a coach and then going to like traditional therapies is a coach helps to unlock that and empower you to be your own guide. And so again, it's taking you through the process of, okay, so we're going to bring you these new awarenesses. We're going to start identifying what you don't know to empower you so that it's more of, it's less of a codependent kind of thing where because I remember going through my own journey, and I'd been in therapy since I was a child. And that was my biggest frustration of, okay, well, I'm kind of figuring some things out. And then I'm going to this person who's not really giving me any more tools. And so I'm not getting that next step, where then when I started to shift and said, you know, I'm just going to try something different. I'm going to go to a coach. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to do this. And that's where it was, oh, well, they're asking these questions and then kind of guiding me. They're not giving me the answers, but they're just guiding me through these questions to where it's like,
self-discovery.
Well, yeah, because it's about you understanding that if you can identify your own problem and get some tools and resources, then you can also identify what your own solutions are. And by the way, when you do that, it becomes much more effective in your life. I could tell someone all day long, do this, do this, do that. But the moment they pair up with a coach and they're like, wait a minute, I could do this, I could do that. And they implement that and they did it and they realize that I did this because it's in them.
Yeah.
It's so much more powerful, and it's so much more effective, and it's much more long lasting.
And that builds the trust.
Absolutely.
Because that's one of the bigger limiting beliefs that I deal with a lot of clients is trust. I can't trust. Go back to that can't. And so again, it's like, okay, so when did you decide you can't do X, Y, Z? And when did you decide that you can't trust? And so then it's going back, you know, there's different things that we all do to, you know, work with clients with that. But it all comes down to, okay, so now that we've identified that, and it's going to be something completely out of your awareness, you'll maybe have an idea, but there's something deeper that you're not aware of. And then it's, okay, so now what can we implement? What tiny steps can we start implementing to where we're building that trust within yourself and then within your circle around you? Because going back to that of, okay, the whole trusting the process kind of thing is, well, why am I going to be confident in trusting the process? Why am I going to feel good about trust in general if I keep doing these big, big steps? I'm trying to take leaps and then I'm failing on it. And again, failure is only feedback. And so to, again, reframe that for yourself, failure is only feedback. So what is there to learn for you? Okay, so you didn't accomplish that one big step. Okay, now you're gaining a new awareness of, okay, well, maybe I won't try to skip 10 steps. Maybe I'll start, you know, maybe like what my coach said,
one
and did the one at a time.
I do have one comment on that too. Something that I share often is it's hard to know what feeling good feels like when you've never felt good, right? Like when all you know is how you feel, you don't know. But when you feel good and then you don't feel good, trust and believe you're going to want to feel good again. And that goes not just with it's with everything. So once you get a taste of that other side of things and you come back to that where it's not, you'll understand that if you want to. I mean, most people do. They just don't want to because they don't want to do the work. But if you're willing to and know how good that feels in many ways, then it's hard to revert back to the old
So
habits.
on that note, because we're going to wrap this one up, but I want you ladies to input on what this part 2 is about. When you say when I want to feel good, let's use that when we're explaining tapping into what's happening in your body physically and how we can connect that to our mind.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to leave something on that, either of you?
Tap into the body.
So for example, when we're not sure, because again, we talked a lot about mindset in the first segment, but when we're not really sure how to get out of a mindset or why we're in the mindset, we can check in with our body.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, if I'm feeling, let's just say emotion, if I'm feeling sadness or depression or unworthiness or not, like I'm not enough, the first thing I would tell a person is feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Close your eyes, let the stories tell the stories, let your stories connect, and then feel physically where you feel it in your body, because you will feel it in a very specific place. Sometimes in your throat, sometimes in your gut, sometimes in your heart. Feel it and get in touch with your body and know that it's speaking to you. You don't have to do anything with it, but just feel it and then let it release. So that's kind of what I'm asking.
Feedback.
Like, how would
Your
we,
body's
our
feedback.
bodies will tell us. So what would you say, Megan, for when, as we conclude, how a person out there that's watching can get their body to tell them about their mindset?
Well, their body's going to do it anyway. So it's, again, your body, when it gets to a point where you're in pain, it's already given you some signals prior to that. And so now what your body's basically screaming at you like, hey, pay attention to me. And so just like you were saying, it's taking that moment and it's stepping back, because it's not to say, don't feel the emotion. It's recognize the emotion is really more of what is going to get you there so that you can release it.
I love it. And what about you, Miss Charlene?
That's 100% true. Our bodies will keep score, and they'll tell us what we need to. They're trying to tell us what we need to know. It's up to us to really dig deep and figure that out.
So thank you. I know this was a shorter version of the one before, but I feel like it got the point.
Yeah.
For those that want to get in touch with Megan, please, I'll have her contact information. You can also see her information on the bottom of the screen on her Instagram follow. You can see she's an amazing coach. She's going to be joining us again, hopefully.
So
We are starting a 3-part series on relationships and dating. And Megan actually is a dating coach, a relationship coach.
Yes.
And so she's going to give us some of her valuable insight on, relationships and things like that. And then, of course, Charlene and Carmen will be returning to the show. So thank you guys again for watching. Again, like, subscribe, let us know how you feel. Give us feedback. What would you have wanted to hear more of or less of or whatever? So thank you again for watching. And until next time, ciao.
Bye.